What's up, guys? In today's episode, we're getting taken on an epic tour through a sawmill that is one of a kind. It's not every day that you get to go see where your wood floors grew. It's something that you don't ever think about, and it was a really great experience for us learning on the road. So stay tuned, it's gonna be epic.
That's so cool. I was like, wow, that's cool. It's like grass and stuff, and then it's actually all clovers.
Yeah, I was just thinking, can you imagine trying to run away from something in here? It's all blackberry, like most of Oregon.
Yeah.
You wouldn't make it 5 steps.
This is the sawmill operation that I run, and it's been a work in progress. We started this 12 years ago, I think. Started clearing land here to build this operation, and it's still a work in progress. But we take the hardwood logs that we cut out of our woods, and we also buy hardwood logs from the surrounding area, from landowners throughout the valley, and saw them up here. And this is our sawmill barn here, where we actually do the first primary processing, where we take the logs and turn them into lumber. And then we can kind of walk through the operation and where we do all the secondary work. But that's kind of the gist of what we do.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And you, with this lumber, do you sell it to people who are building houses, or would you use this to build houses?
Yeah, so we make, and I can show you over here, but we make primarily hardwood flooring, and then lumber for furniture and cabinet work, and pretty much anything that goes inside a house, we make it. So we don't do structural lumber. We don't do building or framing lumber, but any sort of decorative work, whether it's flooring or furniture or wall paneling or cabinets or ceiling paneling or stair treads or trim or countertops or any of that, is something that we can make here out of our lumber.
That's cool.
So that's kind of our specialty. We also have a side business where we make, we sell green oak that hasn't been dried for steam bending for boat builders. So a lot of boat builders all up and down the West Coast, and actually across the country, buy what's called bending oak from us, because it's the best. The Oregon white oak is the best species in the world for making boats.
Oh, wow.
It's incredibly strong. You can bend it into very, very tight radiuses, and it won't rupture. And so we ship all over the country this bending oak, and a lot of it goes for folks building like little 1- and 2-man kayaks. But then I also work with folks up in Alaska who have commercial fishing boats and need big timbers to repair their boats. There's a guy building from scratch a 50-foot wooden sailboat.
Wow.
And he's bought about 3 truckloads worth of wood from us so far, and he's got a ways to go.
That's cool.
So we work with all kinds of boats. We worked with a 110-foot 3-masted tall sailing ship down in the Bay Area that they're building.
Cool.
So that's a little side thing that we do, but we do a lot of that as well.
That's amazing.
Should we go? So the chronological tour is not a geographically convenient tour. We'll walk over to the back and I'll show you where we dry our lumber. It takes anywhere from 6 months to 3 years of air drying here in these sheds before it's ready to go in the kiln for the last step of the drying process. But right here, Mother Nature is doing the drying for us. We're just letting the winds slowly blow across every board, and evaporative cooling is pulling that moisture out of the boards. And especially our oak, it takes a very, very long time to dry. So that's why everything just sits in here. We put it in here and we forget about it. Each unit has a serial number, and it's in the computer, and its number comes up on the computer and says it's ready to go after a certain amount of time, and then we can pull it back out and then we put it in the dry kiln.
The way you stack it keeps it dead level.
Exactly. So we put these sticks between each layer, try to make really accurate, uniform, even stacks. That helps everything stay flat. The first step is the sawing process, making sure to saw it well, lining up the grain with the board. There's a lot of careful work goes into sawing it well, but then stacking it and taking the time to dry it well helps to create a quality flat board when all is said and done.
So what is the difference between you and the big guys? Like the mills, the big mills?
We are small enough that we can treat each log on its own merits. We can pay attention to detail on a level that the big mills can't, and really maximize both the quality of wood coming out of each log as well as really stretch that yield. There's no formula. The person running the sawmill is making 1,000 decisions all the time about how to orient that log and get the best boards out of that log. And so the quality that we can crank out is unmatched. Also, nobody is working with Oregon white oak. You're looking at the largest Oregon white oak mill on the West Coast. And that's embarrassing. It's not very big, but that just tells you that there's very little. Nobody else is really doing this.
Right.
There's a couple of things that set us apart. We also make phenomenal. Our finished products are really cool, and I would say as good or better than anything anybody else is making. And we're one of a very few examples that's fully vertically integrated, where we're not only managing the forest, but we're delivering flooring into a house to install. And by being vertically integrated, you can check your work. You learn all your steps influence all the other steps that you do, and you can increase your quality at every step of the way. And these are lessons that I never knew until we started bringing a new step into the process. And all of a sudden, when we started planing lumber, all of a sudden we changed how we sawed lumber 2 steps up the chain, because we saw the results. And being able to have that vertical integration really increases our quality.
You get to see the end result.
Exactly. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. It's a long learning experience, because when you want to change something at the sawmill, it takes a year or more before you see the results after it comes through the drying process back at the planer again. Yeah. So it's a long-term proposition.
White Oregon oak that's really interesting to hear about, and all the things that they do with it. He was talking about the guy who's building a 50-foot sailboat up in Alaska, and he just orders from them because it's the best wood he can get for it. So a lot of really interesting stuff.
Next, this is the kiln we just emptied today, and we'll reload tomorrow. I'll show you in this kiln in a sec. This still is full. These are the dry kilns, and they're just refrigerated shipping containers that we converted to turn into dry kilns. And so after the wood is sat in the air drying shed long enough, we put the wood in here and finish the drying process. So it's about 140 degrees in there right now. You can walk in, it feels really nice in there. Yeah, feel free to walk in. You'll dry your coat out in about 5 minutes. It's really nice.
Very warm. It's like a sauna in here. You can see why it dries out.
You can see in here, it's the little edgings and offcuts and pieces like that. Yeah, you guys want to help?
Sure. You're making use of every bit of the tree.
What was that?
You're making use of every piece
Oh yeah.
of the tree.
Well, and so we also all of our sawdust we sell to a commercial mushroom grower who grows shiitake mushrooms.
Yeah.
And so they take all our sawdust and planer shavings.
Say that 3 times fast.
But it turns out that a lot of mushrooms really like oak sawdust. Like they specifically want oak sawdust to grow on. That's last year's logs over there. This is a deck of logs that we just logged, actually off of this hillside right here. It was the closest logging job we've ever done to the mills, right here. This is really convenient. So these just came out of the woods, and this will be January and February's project to get sawed up.
It's all
Mostly oak. There's a couple maples that have a little more kind of golden yellowish color on the ends. That's the maple. But otherwise, it's almost all oak in there. Big little So this is our mill workshop. So once the wood comes out of the kilns, it's dry, but it's rough sawn. It's not smooth, and it's not perfectly flat. It's got little bits of twist here and there. And so we'll bring it in here, and we run it through our planing line. And the end result here is going to be what's called a blank, like this. So this is a piece of oak that's been planed on both sides, and then we've ripped the edges square. So it's been squared up on all four sides, and that this is ready to turn into flooring or furniture or lumber, various sorts. Hi, Asa.
Hi. Hi there.
So these are actually going up to a custom furniture shop in Portland. They're going to build really fancy stair treads out of these pieces. Yeah, and these machines, I'm kind of proud of my machines. They're all ancient. And this machine here turned 70 this year. And it still holds tighter tolerances than you could possibly imagine that any new machine would ever hold. It's incredibly accurate, and it's a workhorse. And I've kind of, that's a planer, yeah. And so I've kind of rebuilt all of these machines as I've gotten them and keep them in good running order.
Nice.
And that's the fun part of my job. One of the fun parts of my job.
No need to replace something if it works.
Exactly. There's a secret room back here.
I'll let you know.
This is Santa's workshop.
At night, the elves come in.
So this is where Paul spends a lot of his time in here. And we make these wooden heat registers.
Wow.
So if you've got central air in your floor, and you have it, normally there's like a metal grill that goes there. We'll make wood ones that match the floor that this frame gets installed flush with the floor, and you sand and finish it so it's smooth and flush.
Yeah.
And this
Compared to the little piece of plastic you normally get at the hardware store.
Absolutely.
Metal one.
Yeah.
Eventually. Like what's the process? How long does it take to make one of these?
Joanne Storch, who ran the business, she can make one of these in 20 minutes.
Okay.
We're still not quite there yet.
Yeah.
We're getting closer. We're getting closer and closer to it. But she'd spent 25 years building these things and was really, really good at this.
Yeah.
And we're about 30 minutes a piece.
Nice.
Yeah, and then we could also make our samples in here, and it's kind of the wood shop for this. This is primarily the heat register shop.
How did you get into woodworking and this whole business? Is it like a generational thing? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up here in the forest, and it's kind of always been in my blood. We didn't have a mill here. So I started the mill 12 years ago after I got out of college. But we had always been managing this forest and taking care of the forest here, and this was in sort of a natural outgrowth of that. A way to capitalize on the added value we had in these trees that wasn't being recognized in the marketplace. So there's no market for Oregon white oak historically. It was a trash tree, or in most really any of these hardwoods. And so we we were trying to figure out what to do with this resource we had. All these trees that were growing here in the forest that the mills didn't want. And so that was kind of the genesis of what got me started in this operation. And we had the forest. We figured, well, let's see what we can do with all the things that the mill won't buy. And started this process. And it was a slow process to get started. But I always knew I wanted to live and work here. And this was a way for me to try to make a living beyond just selling logs, which wasn't really enough to support a family.
Right.
And I'm still here.
Yeah, that's cool.
So that's a snapshot of sort of why I'm doing what I do, and I'm the luckiest guy in the world. I get to work with big machines out in the woods every day.
Right.
It's wonderful.
That's cool.
Alright, so that's a wrap to this video. Hope you really enjoyed getting walked through their epic shop up there. It was really fun and really good to learn all the stuff about the types of woods in Oregon, how things actually happen, like your wood flooring that you're walking on every day. One of his sayings was, you know where your flooring grew. Kind of a funny thing you don't think about, but this gave a really good insight onto how that all works and all the work that people put into it, and just a lot of fun. So hope you enjoyed this episode. Stay tuned for more coming every week.